It's an honor for me to open this event and to moderate its first introductory session. And I would like to thank all of you for being here and for taking the time to develop this topic together. Let me introduce myself. First of all, my name is Silvia Mangialardo, and I'm the head of International Relations Office at Marche Polytechnic University in Italy, and also a representative of UniAdrian, the Association of Universities operating in the Adriatic and Ionian region. Because of the pandemic, this event is online, even though it was originally meant to be held in Serbia. And it is the second on the topic of cultural and creative industries within the AI-NURECC Plus project. It is organized by, UniAdrian, again, the Association of Universities, the Forum of Adriatic and Ionian Cities, and the Forum of Adriatic and Ionian Chambers of Commerce. And we are so proud we managed to gather such an excellent group of experts in the field of culture, creativity, and innovation. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who accepted our invitation, both the participants and our speakers and moderators. Also, I would like to thank the secretariats of the three fora, the Adriatic-Ionian Euro region, and our lead partner, CPMR, for all the work done behind this meeting. For those of you who are not familiar with the project, AI-NURECC Plus is a preparatory action financed by the DG Regio of the European Commission that we capitalize on the results of the AI-NURECC initiative, which ended in December 2019. The project is coordinated by CPMR, Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions, with the support of 4 partners from the area: the Adriatic-Ionian Euro region, the Forum of Adriatic and Ionian Cities, the Forum of Adriatic and Ionian Chambers of Commerce, and the Association of Universities, UniAdrian. AI-NURECC Plus partners have joined the efforts to support the implementation of the European Strategy for the Adriatic and Ionian region, USER, ensuring deep and broad territorial coverage while enhancing regional and local authorities' appropriation of USER main objectives and opportunities, especially in USER cross-pillar topics, research and innovation, SMEs development, and skills development. This meeting, in line with the European Strategy for the Adriatic and Ionian region and the new European Bauhaus initiative, brings together public and private stakeholders from the whole region. And the aim of the conference, the second of a series on the theme, is to map the variety of creative and cultural industries in the region, to explore potential synergies and understand the added value of cultural and creative industries for the Adriatic and Ionian region. The event will be divided in a welcome and introductory session, where we are now, and 2 panels. The first one on mapping cultural and creative industries in the Adriatic and Ionian area. The second on cultural and creative experiences for local communities. And finally, there will be a session dedicated to the concluding remarks, moderated by Professor Paolo Seri and Professor Alessandro Crociata, where participants will have the opportunity to directly interact with our speakers with specific questions and comments. So let's go straight to the point. Let me leave the floor to the first of our speakers for his welcome remarks. Mr. Jose Tomasz, President of the Forum of Adriatic and Ionian Chambers of Commerce and AI-NURECC Plus partner. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Silvia. Good morning to everyone. Firstly, I would like to welcome you all, of course, and our great speakers who have accepted our invitation to this important occasion, and all the participants of our outside community. I greet my dear colleagues from UniAdrian and FIGE President Salcu and President Lolos. I greet the Adriatic-Ionian Euro region and the CPMR, coordinator of the AI-NURECC initiative. It is a great pleasure to be here with you again today, addressing the theme of culture and creative industry after the first AI-NURECC Plus event in this matter last December, when we started mapping the variety of creative and culture industry existing in the Adriatic and Ionian region, referring to the huge economic function of the industry considered for its natural capacity to generate wealth and income. Creative and cultural industry have in fact the ability to develop a bottom-up type of approach to guide policies and strategies by listening to stakeholders who can contribute to boost economic growth and also improve the quality of life. With today's event, we kind of want to give even further in the mapping process by taking a lot of the programs that are place in foster the capacity of culture and creative industry and find possible development models for their economic growth. As usual, I'd like to remark our pleasure in working together on the new AI-NURECC Plus, aware of the important contribution that this initiative can give to the development of the Adriatic-Ionian area, supporting post-COVID recovery. I strongly believe that the AI-NURECC initiatives has increased and given more visibility to the role of our association, the main stakeholders of the area, which since the early 2000s, with a bottom-up approach, have strongly contributed to the official recognition of the European strategy for the Adriatic-Ionian region and today represent its major actors. Despite this forced shutdown, the pandemic is still with us. We strongly believe that the theme of CCIs is to be at the core of the AI-NURECC Plus initiative, which has the objective giving credit to the most important culture and creative sectors in this area. The synergies between the AI-NURECC stakeholders are essential to ensure the development of culture and creative industry, from university training to the support of local and regional actors. Just consider the experience of the UNESCO Culture and Creative Cities, and also to the support of Chambers of Commerce and the Economic Financial World. The Forum of the Chamber of Commerce, since it's established in 2001, has pursued the objective of synergy and opportunities for the socio-economic development of the area. To date, our association units 40 chambers of commerce belonging to 8 EUSARI countries, and it's increasingly orienting its planning activities as well as the intention of the chamber system to support companies in the transformation towards the circular economy, mobility and entrepreneurs and digitalization, social enterprises, young entrepreneurs, and creative in culture enterprises, the enhancement of the cultural heritage and sustainable tourism in the Adriatic-Ionian area. These are all priority issues to which particular attention is being given in the new AI-NURECC Plus in the wake of successful activities carried out in the first AI-NURECC. So I wish all of us good work and of course to be able to meet in person soon as the AI-NURECC Plus events. Unfortunately, a new crisis has just appeared. I really hope that today's, in the day when peace in Europe is restored and the peace talks that are happening right now will be successful, and then we will have a potential to meet all very soon in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tomasz, for your words. Now I will leave the floor to the President of the Forum of Adriatic and Ionian Cities, Mr. Ioannis Laros. Please.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλημέρα σας. Αποτελεί μεγάλη τιμή για εμένα να συμμετέχω στη σημερινή συνάντηση ως πρόεδρος του Φόρουμ των Πόλεων της Αδριατική και του Ιουνίου, αλλά και ως δήμαρχος της Ιγουμενίτσας. Η πλούσια πολιτιστική κληρονομιά και η δυναμική πολιτιστική και δημιουργική τομείς της Ευρώπης ισχυροποιούν την ευρωπαϊκή ταυτότητα. Ο πολιτισμός προωθεί την ενεργό συμμετοχή του πολίτη, τις κοινές αξίες, την ένταξη και τον διαπολιτιστικό διάλογο στην Ευρώπη και σε ολόκληρο τον κόσμο. Ο πολιτισμός μας βοηθάει να νιώθουμε μέρος των κοινοτήτων. Ο πολιτισμός και οι δημιουργικές βιομηχανίες έχουν επίσης τη δύναμη να βελτιώνουν τις ζωές, να μεταμορφώνουν τις κοινότητες, να δημιουργούν θέσεις εργασίας και ανάπτυξη και να δημιουργούν επιπτώσεις σε όλους τους οικονομικούς τομείς. Η Ευρώπη, εξερχόμενη από μια σοβαρή χρηματοπιστωτική κρίση, βρίσκεται αντιμέτωπη με αυξημένες κοινωνικές ανισότητες, διαφορετικούς πληθυσμούς, λαϊκισμό, ριζοσπαστικοποίηση και τρομοκρατικές απειλές, αλλά και σήμερα την απειλή ενός πολέμου. Οι νέες τεχνολογίες και η ψηφιακή επικοινωνία μεταμορφώνουν τις κοινωνίες, αλλάζοντας τον τρόπο ζωής, τα καταναλωτικά πρότυπα και τις σχέσεις ισχύως στις αλυσίδες οικονομικής αξίας. Σε αυτό το μεταβαλλόμενο τοπίο, ο ρόλος του πολιτισμού είναι σημαντικότερος από ποτέ. Η πολιτιστική συμμετοχή φέρνει τους ανθρώπους πιο κοντά. Ο πολιτισμός είναι ιδανικό μέσο επικοινωνίας που δεν γνωρίζει γλωσσικούς φραγμούς, ενισχύει τους ανθρώπους και διευκολύνει την κοινωνική συνοχή, συμπεριλαμβανομένης της συνοχής μεταξύ των προσφύγων, των λοιπών μεταναστών και πληθυσμών υποδοχής. Ο πολιτισμός και η δημιουργικότητα είναι πολύτιμα στοιχεία για την οικονομία. Ο πολιτισμός συνεισφέρει άμεσα στην απασχόληση, στην ανάπτυξη και στο εξωτερικό εμπόριο. Ο ρόλος των πόλεων σε αυτή τη διαδικασία αναγνωρίζεται επίσης από τη νέα Ευρωπαϊκή Ατζέντα για τον πολιτισμό, στην οποία αναφέρεται ότι οι πόλεις και οι περιφέρειες είναι φυσικοί εταίροι. Βρίσκονται στην πρώτη γραμμή της ανάπτυξης με γνώμονα τον πολιτισμό, καθώς έχουν μεγαλύτερη τοπική αυτονομία, προσεγγίουν ταλαντούχα άτομα και είναι κοντά στις ανάγκες και τις δυνατότητες των κατοίκων τους. Ο πολιτισμός και ο τουρισμός αποτελούν ισχυρές κινητήριες δυνάμεις της οικονομικής δραστηριότητας. Οι πόλεις που επιδεικνύουν στον πολιτισμό μπορούν να αποκομίσουν σημαντικά ωφέλη, καθώς προσελκύουν περισσότερες θέσεις εργασίας και ανθρώπινο κεφάλαιο. Για να μετατρέψουν ευκαιρίες σε ανάπτυξη και θέσεις εργασίας, οι πολιτιστικές και οι δημιουργικές επιχειρήσεις και οι επαγγελματίες χρειάζονται ευνοϊκές συνθήκες πλαισίου και στρατηγική προσέγγιση. Καλύτερη κατανόηση των τάσεων της αγοράς, ρυθμιστικό περιβάλλον που επιβραβεύει τη δημιουργία, καλύτερη πρόσβαση στη χρηματοδότηση και ευκαιρίες για την προώθηση της διασυνοριακής κινητικότητας των επαγγελματιών. Στο πλαίσιο του Ευρωπαϊκού Ταμείου Περιφερειακής Ανάπτυξης από το 2014 έως το 2020, πόλεις, ευρωπαϊκές περιφέρειες έχουν ορίσει πολιτιστικές και δημιουργικές βιομηχανίες ως τομείς προτεραιότητα στις στρατηγικές έρευνες και καινοτομία για την έξυπνη εξειδίκευση. Υπήρξε επίσης αποτελεσματική συνεργασία της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης στο πλαίσιο της Ευρωπαϊκής Εδαφικής Συνεργασίας, του Interreg και άλλων διακρατικών, διαπεριφερειακών και διασυνοριακών προγραμμάτων, καθώς και στο πλαίσιο μακροπεριφερειακών στρατηγικών και στρατηγικών για τις θαλάσσιες λεκάνες, όπου ο πολιτισμός είναι σημαντικός θεματικός τομέας. Το AI-NURECC είναι μια πρωτοβουλία των σημαντικών φορέων της Αδριατική και του Ιωνίου, που αποφάσισαν να ενώσουν τις προσπάθειές τους με στόχο την υποστήριξη για την υλοποίηση της στρατηγικής της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης για την Αδριατική και την Ιόνιο. Αποτελεί ένα ισχυρό εργαλείο για την ενίσχυση του διαλόγου μεταξύ των βασικών ενδιαφερομένων μερών της περιοχής, που θα εξασφαλίσει ένα πιο ευέλικτο και αποτελεσματικότερο συντονισμό μεταξύ όλων όσων συμμετέχουν για την υλοποίηση του σχεδίου δράσης της Ευρωπαϊκής Στρατηγικής για την Αδριατική και το Ιόνιο. Στο πλαίσιο αυτό, η σχέση μεταξύ πολιτιστικού τουρισμού και δημιουργικών βιομηχανιών είναι σαφής. Αυτός είναι ο λόγος για τον οποίο πρέπει να εμπλέξουμε ακόμα περισσότερο τις δημιουργικές πόλεις της UNESCO. Το AI-NURECC Plus θα μπορούσε να λειτουργήσει ως το μέσο που θα διευκολύνει την ένταξη των πόλεων, των χωρών της Αδριατικής και του Ιωνίου σε αυτό το δίκτυο. Οι μακροπεριφερειακές στρατηγικές συνδέονται μεταξύ άλλων με δίκτυα πόλεων. Πρόκειται για πλατφόρμες όπως το Φόρουμ των Πόλεων της Αδριατική και του Ιωνίου, με στόχο την οικοδόμηση της Ευρωπαϊκής Στρατηγικής για την Αδριατική και το Ιόνιο, την ανάπτυξη της οικονομικής, κοινωνικής, περιβαλλοντικής και πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς των πόλεων και τη συνεργασία για την ευρωπαϊκή ολοκλήρωση και διερεύνηση. Και αυτό μπορεί να επιτευχθεί με την προώθηση καινοτόμων μορφών πολυεπίπεδης συνεργασίας και εταιρικών σχέσεων μεταξύ των τοπικών αρχών των χωρών μελών. Υπάρχει περιθώριο να αξιοποιηθεί σε αυτό, αξιοποιώντας την εμπειρία που έχει αποκτηθεί μέχρι τώρα και ενισχύοντας περαιτέρω το ρόλο του πολιτισμού ως τομέα προστεραιότητας για την εδαφική ανάπτυξη με γνώμονα την κοινοτομία. Σας ευχαριστώ και εύχομαι η επόμενη συνάντηση να γίνει διαζώσεις, αφού πλέον βγούμε από την πολύχρονη κρίση που διανύουμε, αλλά και να το επιτρέψουν και οι συνθήκες και επέρθει η ειρήνη σε όλο τον κόσμο. Σας ευχαριστώ ξανά πάλι.
Thank you, Mr. Lolos, for your welcome remarks. Now I would like to leave the floor to the president of the Association of Universities in the Adriatic-Ionian area, as well as rector of the Agricultural University of Tirana, Professor Fat Barsalaku.
Thank you, Silvia. Good morning, everybody. I am very honored and pleased to talk in the name of UniAdrion, even in fact that everybody and also me would like to have this meeting in person to meet everybody. And I am very sorry that again, this very important conference is going to be organized online, because we all share the same opinion that this conference, apart from providing this insight in their main objective, more important are for establishing the networks and so on. On the other side, I am very happy, and we all should be happy that to have a meeting today, especially in the situation that all the Europe is passing, which nobody likes to have such situation, because we researchers, scientists, professors are for such meetings to organize and to have such kind of very nice, and we have to thank God, and we have to be very happy that our region is going to have such kind of very important meetings. I think that the meeting today tell us that all our countries are having the opportunity to collaborate for common priorities, which is also in accordance with the European Green Deal, which calls us for more sustainability transformation of our economy. The meeting today shows clearly that AI-NURECC project can contribute in achieving sustainability through innovative projects, because these initiatives is able to engage all stakeholders, public authorities, private sector, civil societies, different citizens, and small and medium enterprises. The thematic of the theme of this AI-NURECC is very connected to the sustainable development and green economy. This is a very good partnership that can be further enriched by addressing new innovative activities for professionals and investors dealing with coastal as well as other environmental issues. I think that a lot of other sectors can benefit from this innovative partnership. I am very happy to see that the opening session will offer an up-to-date overview of EU policies and programs on culture and creativity, with a special focus on the Adriatic-Ionian area, especially with the role of the engagement of the regional and local authorities and relevant stakeholders, and their role in the economic and innovation development of the region. I am impressed from the data that are provided in the notes of this conference, that according to Eurostat figures, culture and creative industries employ more than 8.7 million people in the EU, equivalent to 3.8% of the total workforce in the EU, representing almost 1.2 million enterprises. I am very happy to see that this meeting will bring together experts in different fields who have produced studies on the culture and creative sectors at different levels, in EU level, micro-regional, national, and regional. I'm sure that this will allow these groups and institutions to set up a comprehensive system to be able to illustrate, compare, assess, and analyze data, which are a very important step for the development of successful smart specialization strategy and place-based development models for the Adriatic-Ionian area. I am looking forward to get the answer from different speakers today regarding the methodologies, how we can measure and compare performances between different sectors and different countries, or on what pillars should be focused more, the macro-regional strategy to promote culture and creative industries in the Adriatic-Ionian region. I am sure and confident that the professional dialogue from different countries of the Adriatic-Ionian area to share their insight on the added value of the culture and creative experience for the local communities will be very important and will serve as a base for the future projects and initiatives. By concluding, please allow me to wish a success to this very important conference, which is the second in a row that I have been giving a speech. And I'm sure that during the day, which is a very intensive day, you are going to have a very fruitful discussions and very, very important recommendation for the future of our common interest. Again, thank you for giving me the floor, and I wish you all the success and a nice week.
Thank you, Professor Salaku. And now I will leave the floor to the coordinator of our project, as well as a friend, Mr. Stavros Kalognomos, Executive Secretary of the Balkan and Black Sea Commission at the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions. Please.
Thank you very much, Ms. Manzalardo. I would like to thank all distinguished speakers and participants for being today with us in this very important conference of the AI-NURECC Plus initiative. I would like to thank the three fora, our dearest partners, for the excellent organization of this very promising meeting, and ask all participants, either panelists or just attendees, to share with us their proposals so that we suggest them for further revision of the strategy. We'll have in a while, so please do not hesitate to share your ideas through the questions and answers and the chat box so that we gather them and get back to the European Commission with some suggestions for the revision of the EUSR strategy in the field of cultural and creative industries. Something else I would like to say, because we'll have in a while Mr. Jamal Lucas from the CCIs 3 and AI-NURECC 1 deliverable, that the next Cultural and Creative Industries Youth Forum, so it's going to be a conference along with the Youth Forum of the Adriatic-Ionian organizations, will be organized in the framework of the annual EUSR Forum in May in Tirana, Albania. And in the meantime, together with all our AI-NURECC Plus partners, we'll be working so that in due course, we'll be able to launch a call for specific internships for supporting youth in cultural and creative industries entrepreneurship. So I kindly invite all participants for their active participation and contribution to gathering food for thought for the next period. Thank you once again for your participation, and hopefully we'll meet in Tirana in May in person. So thank you once again, the three fora, for the excellent organization. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, we'll have many interesting ideas to share and to work on in the near future.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stavros. And now it's an honor for me to leave the floor to Ambassador Fabio Pigliapoco, whom I thank so much for being with us today, head of the Permanent Secretariat of the Adriatic-Ionian Initiative, supporting the 3 fora in all the actions implemented in the Adriatic and Ionian region. Please.
Dear Silvia, thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words. And I want to reciprocate your courtesy, trying to help you out, because I see that we are already running behind schedule. So I'll try to be very brief. Let me tell you, however, that obviously, consequently with what you said, I am more than happy to be here with you and to send our greetings from the Permanent Secretariat seat to organizers and participants in this event. A special greeting I'd like to address to José Thomas, who's a good friend of mine. We had chances to meet already, and naturally we are looking forward. I'm certainly personally looking forward to see him again during the next month. A special greeting also to the mayor of Igoumenitsa. Mr. Mayor, you know that our seat is located in Ancona, and you certainly know how close and daily are the links between Ancona and Igoumenitsa. So particularly pleased to see you, us, and as the Brits say, last but not least, a special greeting to Professor and Rector Salahu, whom I had the honor and the pleasure to meet in Tirana on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of his university. That was a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to see him again. And certainly we shall have other occasions, since, as you all know, the chairmanship of AII and of the USER is held during this year and until the 30th of May by Albania. So obviously we will have many other occasions to meet. You know that, and you said it, Silvia, already, that the Adriatic-Ionian Initiative has always been on your side, on the side of AI-NURECC. We value very much your contribution, and we value very much the action of AI-NURECC to foster cooperation and synergies in our area, in the area of the basin of the Adriatic and Ionian Sea. As far as culture and development is concerned, let me remind you that we have already entered the second leg of the Albanian chairmanship. And I also would like to seize this opportunity to invite your experts, panelists, to attend our next 2 events, which will be the first one coming, a roundtable of natural parks on the 29th of March. And the second one, a roundtable on culture, to be held in the margin of the forum concluding the Albanian chairmanship, 16th, 17th of May. You all know that throughout the rest of the Albanian chairmanship, the Permanent Secretariat will try to promote a qualified participation in the roundtables by financing travel and accommodation for civil society experts who can make a concrete contribution to the work of roundtable. So we invite your experts and panelists to take a look at our schedule and to see whether they can attend our roundtable. It will be a pleasure for us to welcome them. I think this is more or less what I wanted to say. Let me just tell you that I'm looking forward to hear this morning the debate and the panels that will be held, and I'm certainly sure that I will profit from what I'm going to learn. Looking forward to continue our very close and friendly cooperation. Thank you again for inviting me to send you this address. Thank you, Silvia.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for being here. Your presence is really very much appreciated. So now the opening session will continue with an up-to-date overview of EU policies and programs on culture and creativity. backed with appropriate funding. The new EU strategy aims at supporting innovation, creativity, and opportunities offered by the digital shift. And so in this context, we also have with us for her welcome remarks in this session, Ms. Barbara Gessler, Head of Unit Creative Europe, Culture, Education, Audiovisual and Cultural Executive Agency, and a representative of New European Bauhaus. Ms. Gessler.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? Good. Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's my pleasure as well to be opening the culture-focused part of this opening session. It was very interesting for me to hear the opening remarks by all the distinguished speakers this morning, and I'm very happy that I have the opportunity to talk at this Adriatic-Ionian area meeting focusing on culture. I would like to say a few words about Creative Europe, and then I would also like to go on, as I was kindly introduced also as representative today for the New European Bauhaus initiative. I would like to stress that Creative Europe is the new program, the continuation of the program that started in 2014 and lasted until 2020. And it's now in its new generation until 27, stronger than ever. It has the biggest budget ever. We talk about more or less 2.5 billion euros for the next 7 years. And I would like to flag immediately that Creative Europe, culture in particular, you know, we are talking about a culture leg for which I'm responsible, but we're also having a media leg, which is a very important pillar, of course, the bigger pillar even, which deals with the audiovisual. So in our program, we deal with all the creative sectors that are non-audiovisual, and we have never had so much money in our existence. And it's sad to say, but I think it's also a truth that this is partly also due, I think, to the fact that we have all seen what the distinguished speakers have said before, that we have all seen the disproportionately heavy impact of the crisis on the culture and creative sector. And at the same time, also our awareness of how much we need culture and creativity, not only in pandemic situations, but as some of you have said, also in sad times as these today, in war times that unfortunately many of you have experienced, culture and creativity will continue being more important than ever, also for our well-being, our mental well-being, for our mental health. And therefore culture and creativity have been acknowledged already in the crisis, during the crisis, as a strong factor for society and also for the values that culture represents. And therefore, I believe that our strong budget can be used to the very high benefit, not only of the region, but in particular also for the people that will be able to benefit of culture through reinforced funding. We are looking, and you have mentioned the new European agenda for culture, at the positive spillover effects, of course, of culture and creativity on the economy, on tourism, for example. You know, we are now in 2022, the first Serbian European capital of culture in Novi Sad has recently opened, and the capitals of culture are one initiative, of course, that very clearly shows also the positive economic effects that culture can have, not only via tourism, but also via the city and regional development that this then entails. So our program, Creative Europe, is very much on partnership. And this is why I think this forum is really an excellent platform to talk about this. Creative Europe funds organizations that work together across borders. This was also the explicit wish of our co-legislators, to put the accent of cooperation on really partnerships beyond borders, where organizations that are facing similar challenges will work together to exchange their experience and to make it better, and to eventually also, for example, come out more resilient out of this crisis and recover more quickly. This is also why now in these first years, we have focused the budget very much on the resilience and recovery of the sector. So this budget now, also in 2022, where the calls actually been recently launched, are the strongest one, I think, in this generation of programs. And of course, I'm very happy to say that Creative Europe is much bigger than just the EU. So not only are, of course, all of you in the EU partner in Creative Europe, but also some of you have either already concluded an agreement on Creative Europe participation, but are looking into doing this or entry into force of an agreement in this month. So that is also a very important sign that we're giving to the region, that we believe this is not only about the European Union, but it's really going much beyond, because also the positive spillover of partnerships go beyond beyond the European Union. It's a very strong signal for us. As you all know, we have had a specific Western Balkan call a couple of years ago that was highly successful, and we saw from there also the need and the wish to work together across borders, and also the issues that were tackled showed how much cultural cooperation and the creation and the inspiration via creativity can also help regions thrive. This is why I'm also very happy to report, for example, that we are currently working on the launch of a new individual mobility scheme, which will be bigger than what we ever had when it comes to individual mobility of artists and creative professionals. We will have in the next years 21 million euros at our disposal for individuals to travel across borders to work on their projects and be involved in residencies in another country. And already in the pilot phase that we are looking at now, the so-called Opportunus project, we were very happy to see that this geographical and regional balance was already met to a large extent, and that a lot of efforts were made also to allow individual creatives to travel from the region that you are representing, also to other regions of the European Union. So this is something that I would also like to flag as a priority for our future mobility scheme, geographical balance, and therefore not only the cooperation of organizations, but also of individuals. I think this is a strong point. We have also, and that should be of interest to you as well, we have also raised our co-funding participation from the European side, in particular when it comes to small projects, because we know that a small project that typically consists of minimum 3 partners needs stronger support maybe than the bigger projects. And this is why I think it will be very important to stress also in the region that access to a small partnership project will be highly co-funded by the European Union by up to 80%. So accessibility and the geographical spread and equal possibilities of participation were really at the forefront of our reflections when we designed the program in that way. There will not be a special call for the Western Balkans in this period, but of course you know that all partnerships that can apply for Creative Europe, and with the partners that I just mentioned fully on board for this call, will look at partnerships also within the region. So we have no limits to how a partnership must be designed, as long as partnerships meet the priorities of the program, which are in particular focusing on co-creation and touring, and going across borders with works, but also looking at the economic and innovative aspects that such a project can have that can then turn into a mutual benefit of those involved in the partnerships. But as the speakers before have already said, we're also very much focusing for the first time also Creative Europe on the new cross-cutting priorities of the European Commission that are, as you also mentioned, the greening aspect, but also issues such as gender equality are at the forefront of also what we want our projects to look at and to contribute to in concrete terms. And I think this also gives me the possibility to talk a little bit more about the new European Bauhaus, because as I said, we know that today's cross-cutting challenges require really a new forward-looking paradigm that takes advantage of collective thinking and knowledge. And we believe that it's possible to create a beautiful, sustainable and inclusive places, products and lifestyle in collaboration with all of society. And the new European Bauhaus is therefore a very good example of how we will connect different disciplines to provide such holistic solutions. We want to bridge research and innovation with the arts and culture on topics such as climate neutral and smart cities, climate adaptation and resilience, to make sure that the implemented solutions will not only be sustainable, but as I said, also accessible, affordable, and enhancing the quality of experience for all of us. And you have well witnessed, I suppose, that last year in September, the Commission adopted this communication on the concept of the new European Bauhaus, and it presents a rich diversity of actions such as collaborative processes, a new European Bauhaus festival, and a pack of financial opportunities as well. We have now launched the second edition of the new European Bauhaus prizes. The applications are, by the way, still open until the 7th of March, and the closing ceremony will take place at the so-called New European Bauhaus Festival. And that is really an innovation that we're looking at. Its first edition will take place in Brussels from the 9th to the 12th of June, with the possibility of organizing satellite events, both physical and virtual, in different member states. And we wanted to consist of a physical and virtual gathering for the whole community to meet and debate and share and learn and celebrate. And earlier this month, on the 9th of February, the Commission published a call for expression of interest with a view to collecting applications from organizations and interested individuals that will propose activities and projects and venues or side events to become a central part of the pillars of the festival. And this call will be open until next week, until the 7th of March. We also talked about funding opportunities. So there are numerous calls going on with different dimensions, from education to culture, from research to innovation, and they are all published in the New European Bauhaus website, for example. And I think that could be particularly interesting for you. There's a recent one, the call for transformation of places of learning, which is an invitation to experts and thinkers and doers, neighbors, ministers, students, educators, or researchers to come together and make waves for beautiful, sustainable, and inclusive spaces that we hope will shape our future ways of learning, because we all agree that learning is not what it used to be in the past. And in this call, we are asking participants to share their projects and join other passionate individuals and organizations to make a difference. The deadline for applications of this call is open until the end of the year, so it's more of an ongoing application process. But as I speak for Creative Europe, of course, I need to say that in particular for the culture and creative sector, several calls feature already new European Bauhaus-related priorities. For example, a dedicated call under Horizon Europe for shaping a greener and fairer way of life in creative and inclusive societies through architecture, design, and the arts. And of course, also in my program, in the Creative Europe program, via the European cooperation projects that I mentioned, but also the cross-sectoral call, the Creative Innovation Labs, we also aim at fostering transdisciplinary innovation, sustainability, inclusion, and well-being among the cultural and creative sectors, and of course synergies also with other sectors. And finally, on the new European Bauhaus, I need to mention, and I'm very happy about this, because we had a working group as a recent policy development. We had a working group in the framework of the open method of coordination, and which issued a report which is called Towards a Shared Culture of Architecture, Investing in High Quality Living Environment for Everyone. And we also have been working together with member states on the council conclusions on culture, high quality architecture, and built environment as key elements of the new European Bauhaus initiative, which was adopted at the end of November last year, and which calls on various policymakers, and this is why you are also concerned, of course, at both local and EU level, to mainstream the new European Bauhaus and the circular economy principles and approaches in the national socio-economic and territorial development strategies, and to facilitate those synergies that I mentioned earlier between relevant policy areas and other processes, also such as the Conference on the Future of Europe, which is currently taking place. So as my last words, I would like you to support these initiatives and help us promote also these opportunities, the prizes and the festivals and the calls within your communities to make the best use also of the opportunities in favor of your culture and creative sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gessler. And I would like to profit by the occasion to reciprocate your address. We are the representative of the civil society, universities, cities, chambers of commerce, and so on. And we are doing a lot in this field, starting from the society. We also applied a couple of times in the framework of the Creative Europe program. And just to tell you that we are at your full disposal for any need. If we need to develop specific actions by using European funds that are available for this kind of actions, then just consider our full cooperation for any initiative the European Commission would like to develop.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. And now the last but not least speaker of this opening session, Mr. Konstantinos Tsamaloukas, Development Directorate of the Regional Unit of Ilia, region of Western Greece, and also a member region of the CPMR and Cultural and Creative Regional Ecosystems leading region, responsible for the coordination of the Adriatic and Ionian partners. Please, the floor is yours.
Good morning. I hope that you can hear me clear. Is it okay with the sound? Okay, thank you for this invitation and the opportunity that you are giving to the region of Western Greece to present a very important initiative that has undertaken. I have to share my screen in order to proceed to my presentation. I will try to be as fast as possible in order to catch up the lost time. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Today I will speak about an initiative that has been undertaken by the region of Western Greece, along with the regions of Tuscany and Aragon from Italy and Spain, which is called Cultural and Creative Regional Ecosystem. There is a thematic area within the Smart Specialization Platform of the European Committee. I think that it's in the top level, at the highest level of the initiatives that can be undertaken regarding the cultural and the creative industries. This idea, as Mr. Kalognomos mentioned before, was initially delivered from the first phase of AI-NURECC. Here you can see the participating regions, and as it is mentioned, 10 out of the 17 participating regions are within the Adriatic and Ionian region, and the region of Western Greece has undertaken the role of coordinating the activities within this area. The transversal dimension of culture, art, and creative industries in general has been underlined and presented by the previous speakers, and I believe that it will be also proven in the next session of this conference. There is an important spillover effect, and there is cross-connectivity with several sectors of the economy. So this is another proof of the importance of culture and the creative industries in total, and the effect that they have in a horizontal and vertical way in all aspects of the economy. The approach that we are following is based on three axes: as a place-based, ecosystem-focused, and in terms of governance regarding the institutions that are participating. And the approach that we follow is focused in the three axes, which related to the human-centered approach, to the open and collaborative innovation, and the circular city and territory. So far, we have identified two major areas of work that we can proceed. The first one is the area of open innovation, which aims to develop co-investments projects bringing together academia, research centers, and businesses, and to prepare business plans to attract public and private investors. We have in this area, we have identified three working groups: innovation and entrepreneurship, smart and circular regions, open culture, and creative data. The second area of work is the area of for planning and building capacities. In this area, we aim to share experiences in promoting CCI and defining joint plans for building capacities on CCI that contribute to territorial development. Issues of common interest will be subject of cooperation projects. And we have also identified here two working groups: the regional and cross-border ecosystem development and the digital skills in culture and creative industries. These working groups are further analyzed, and we have identified per working group indicative subjects on which we can establish new cooperations, create new networks, and of course, create new partnerships in order to submit proposals for funding, especially in the view of the new programming period. In working group 1, the innovation and entrepreneurship, we have identified subjects such as maker spaces and fab labs, upcycling, generative arts, the new European Bauhaus, industrial symbiosis, life cycle-minded product design, AR, VR for culture and tourism. In working group, which is related to smart and circular regions, subjects and technologies such as Internet of Things, big data analytics, artificial intelligence, and the overall digitalization of at the regional and local level are issues that can be further exploited in order to approach initiatives such as the Green Deal, the new European Bauhaus, the Intelligent Cities Challenge, the European Digital Innovation Hubs, and the Region 4.0. The third working group of this area It is related with the open and cultural and creative data, which is, since we are speaking about digitalization, the open data is an important issue. So we have to break the silos between different application domains, different sectors. So we have to deal with open data platforms, data management, and big data analysis, interoperability aspects between the different sectors, and digital services. At the second working area, the working group, the first working group is related to the regional and cross-border ecosystem development. To this, at this group, we target to the quadruped helix in order to involve stakeholders from academia, research, public administration, business, and civil society. The overall aim is the capacity building and networking. So we aim to deal with issues such as cross-innovation, industrial symbiosis, linkages with technology platforms, living labs, and digital innovation hubs as well. And the last, and I think was an issue that was mentioned before, which is related to the training. The last working group deals with the digital skills in cultural and creative industries. The important issue of upskilling and reskilling of the personnel and the people that are engaged in this kind of industry is very important. So we have to put some focus on this aspect too. Subjects to further exploit are elementary digital skills and more sophisticated, such as 3D modeling, AI for culture and creative industries, augmented reality, and virtual reality. All these subjects and working groups are now subject of working and further expanding in order to create synergies, new partnerships, and as a result to propose a new funding scheme. And as you can see, we think that the cultural and creative regional ecosystems thematic area can play an important role within the New European Bauhaus initiative. And therefore, we hope that in the next months, in the next period, we will be able to submit new proposals, create new partnerships, and of course, we are always open to expand our network in more regions or in new stakeholders coming from the interested regions. My contact details are available. And I would like once again to thank you about this opportunity. For any questions, I'm at your disposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tsamalaukas. So now before closing this first session and start with panel one after this, just allow me one more minute to wrap up what we have heard from our kind speakers in this first introductory session. We heard words like synergy, social cohesion, especially created by culture, dialogue, network, cooperation. We are not completely out of the crisis created by the pandemic, and a new crisis has just started for other reasons. Now more than ever, these words, synergy, cohesion, cooperation, networking, are keywords to face this crisis together. And culture can definitely be a driver to reach this objective. So I hope that this conference is just one of the steps that we are going to take together for the development of the region and for facing together this other crisis. Thank you again for all the speakers participating in this opening session. And now I leave the floor to the moderators of the first panel, Professor Paolo Seri, Adjunct Professor of Territorial and Environmental Economics at Marche Polytechnic University in Ancona, Italy, and Professor Alessandro Crociata, Associate Professor of Applied Economics at Gran Sasso Science Institute in Italy again. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Silvia. Thank you very much. I will try. We are already out of time, so we try to make a very operative and constructive session now, and respect strictly the time that we have defined. So yeah, thank you to all the guys of the Adriatic-Ionian network for the fantastic work that they have done in organizing this event. First of all, I am Paolo Seri. I teach territorial and environmental economics at the Università Politecnica delle Marche and work in the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship in the same university. At the moment, I am doing research on the evolving economic geography of the movies industry in Europe. And together with me to chair this session, I have the honor to share the chairing with Alessandro Crociata, which is Associate Professor of GSIs of L'Aquila, and is one of the leading experts in cultural creative industry in Europe. He will tell you later something about him and his activity, among other, his leading collaboration with the Horizon Project Bisce, which, by the way, is proposing new methodology for mapping creative and cultural industries, and possibly also overcoming the concept of cultural industry, which now prove to be a bit obsolete, as we will see. So in order, what we are going to do in this session is to find out and define, if it's possible, an agenda for the Adriatic-Ionian region, to define the possible developing trajectories and build their operating practices. In order to do that, we need to know and to understand very well the existing situation. And this is exactly what we are going to discuss about in this session, trying to build a mapping process of the activity, of the cultural and creative activity in this region. I say mapping process because it is not just a static picture. We are not just, don't really need just to make a list of data about the existing actual and firms and employment, but the mapping process has also a functional aspect. So what we map is the way we map the activity is also functional to the development, to the model of the development model of that we want to go through. So we will say, Alessandro will tell us something more on this, since he just published important work on the mapping process for the Portuguese Horizon project. So the question is, the question I've done is, I try to answer, even looking at the data, the available data, mainly Eurostat data, is that whether there are commonalities within these regions that are statistically or better functionally significant. In other words, is this geographical construct ultimately useful with respect to creative and cultural industry, the geographical construct of the macro region of Adriatic-Ionian macro region? Well, the first evidence on which we can speak on the concluding remark more after having listened to the relator, is that within the country, within this macro region, produce a wider variance than, let's say, Western and continental countries, which show a greater consistency and keep closer together. I mean, in terms of employment, in terms of share of value added on the total value added of the creative and cultural industries. We can see that, of course, we have for Italy, for example, the share of employee and of value added of the creative and cultural industry are much larger, of course, than the other countries, and so the variance is quite high. But before this data and figure will take us too far, I think that we must remember that the real harmonization of cultural statistics in the EU still takes a long way. I think that the most striking divergences are likely to be due to the differences in naming and interpreting phenomena before they are counted. And that's the reason we are here. So let me just, since we are late, I will leave the comments and concluding remark to the end of this session and to the end of the conference. Just two last information. Well, first of all, the structure of the session will consist in 7 presentations, each of them consisting in only 10 minutes, and we will to be strictly limited on that 10 minutes, please. And finally, I want to present an interesting opportunity for publishing our work on creative and cultural industries or activity in this region, because me and Alessandro are organizing a call for paper for the Italian review L'Industria. So those of you that want to present a paper can do it, and we will in the next 2 weeks send you a mail with all the rule and the possibility. The review L'Industria accept also paper that have not econometric analysis. So the important thing is that they are well framed theoretically in the theoretical literature. So I just leave the virtual floor to Alessandro for a few words before starting with the first relator speaker. Please, Alessandro.
Thank you, Paolo. Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored, of course. Just few words. I'm leading a working package in Horizon 2020 project that is called DICE. That is the acronym for Developing Inclusive and Sustainable Creative Economies. The goal of our WP deals with CCIs, identification, mapping, and statistics, because of course there's a need to advance toward a comprehensive understanding of CCIs to unlock the potential of CCIs in Europe. If we are here, we all agree with the role and the importance of CCIs as a sector, not only for culture and creativity, and not only for cultural sectors, but also for the whole economies. But what we know is that the perimeter of CCIs is very difficult to map. and he is led by national specific culture, but also national specific policy imperatives. But it is correct, it is correct. But if we look at the European level, and if we understand the potential and to catch the European agenda and funds and so on, especially in this particular period, we have to better reflect on how to talk each other, how to harmonize the perimeter, the mapping, and so on, the statistics of CCIs. That's all. I don't want to take more time because I want to give to our speakers their reflection, and then I'm very pleased to be here to improve my knowledge on what is going on in this part of the world. Best of luck.
Thank you, Alessandro. So let's start with the first speaker, who is Miss Elchiana Gimpali, who is visiting lecturer at Alexander Moise University of Dure, Albania. She will speak us about the CCI in Albania. And I'm very pleased also to listen to her because, well, she doesn't have too many data about Albania, but she have a deep experience in the media, in the cinema, movie sector, which is actually the sector where I'm working in. So I'm very eager to listen to Elchiana. Please, Elchiana, the floor is yours.
Thank you everyone for having me. So because of the time, I will start, as you said, with some data that is old. Actually, it's what I found. And then other aspect of the CCI in Albania. So creative industries based on a UNDP report contributes to the economy for it creates employment opportunities and income, generates revenue for fiscal system on local and at local and national level, attracts qualified experts, supports tourism and cultural heritage, increase the value of the property, increase socialization within the urban area of the city, and promotes tolerance and support of different ideas. However, some challenges of this sector are related especially to the gap that exists between public institutions and businesses in this sector, which appears mainly in terms of supporting new and existing initiatives. Some problematic or challenges aspect that this sector faces in Albania are access to finance, taxation, same with other more profiting industries, so it makes it difficult for the sector to grow, lack of professional schools on a managerial level. For the sector, we have artists and creators, but we lack art managers and art agents. Not supporting of network events between creative sector and other industries. Lack of incentives in creating partnerships, and lack of capacity to receive EU support funds. The government needs to invest more in capacity building to apply for EU funds and to help partnerships with other countries, and also for project implementation. I wanted to emphasize that with an exception for the publishing houses in Albania that are a success story in accessing EU funds, other industries haven't succeeded very much in accessing EU funds. For example, also for initiatives like Creative Europe that we've been part of for around 5 or 6 years now. One of the main problems faced by the subject of creative industries, we can emphasize, is the lack of spaces with reasonable prices and appropriate technology, which will inspire and support this sector to create and elaborate their ideas. The government should help enable creators to gather in places where there is equipment and workspace from where they can develop by collaborating also with each other. Creative industry in Albania remains a new notion for the country. There are no genuine studies that give an overview of this category, the contribution it makes to the economy, such as contribution to GDP, employment, promotion, innovation, etc. Since 2019, Ministry of Culture is in the process of building indicators that measure the contribution of culture in development, but that data has not yet come up with findings. We don't have the data yet. That information is still not published. British Council in Albania conducted a study in 2007 on the identification and categorization of the creative industries that exist in the country, identifying its capacities, needs, problems, and impact on the economic and social development. Some data from this study is, according to this study, referring to the data of tax system for 2006, the number of businesses focused on the sector part of the creative industry is 515, representing about 0.57% of the total businesses nationwide. Of these businesses, 197 are headquartered in the metropolitan area of Tirana, Honduras. While
sorry,
in Tirana, yes.
Sorry, Kiana. Sorry if I interrupt you.
Yes.
Well, I forgot to tell that we try to make an interactive and so most informally presentation session as possible. So I will interrupt you.
Okay, we can.
I just wanted to ask you. These are data from 2007. Yes. So, and these are the more recent data for Albania.
Yes, there are some other studies that are being conducted, but they haven't been published yet.
That's really an information. I mean, probably they changed a lot.
It is very old, so
I think I will ask you if it's possible to summarize this data, because I mean, probably they are obsolete, and then to tell us something about the National Film Commission, since you are working there, and since there could be a lot of synergies with the Italian Film Commission, the Regional Film Commission, and some cooperation B2. So just if I can, sorry for, I would ask you to be more short on this data, which are a bit old, and tell us something on the Film Commission, national, on the organization of the Film Commission in Albania.
Yes, we can.
We have 3 minutes all together to do everything. So
okay, so the Film Commission is Tirana Film Commission. It's a local priority that has been established last year. Also this year, Tirana is the European Youth Capital, and they have also created a new agency for creative industries in the city of Tirana that will bring visibility to the city and recognition of success. On a national level, there is a National Film Center that has a yearly fund for film production, but still we are working on applying incentive through the Film Commission. So instead of doing a National Film Commission for the whole country, we started locally only with the capital, with Tirana. The first phase of the Film Commission is to map all the industry and what Tirana and Albania can bring to mainly foreign film production companies that choose to shoot in the capital. And then the second phase will be to apply an incentive, which is something that we are still working with Ministry of Finance and the Film Center.
Okay, Chiara, thank you very much. Okay, we will comment a bit on that at the end. It is very interesting, I mean, the situation about data, about analysis, about mapping of the Albania, which is so backward and so obsolete. Now we move.
I just wanted to mention something to conclude it, is that it's not that CCIs haven't been a priority or haven't had many different calls for different projects lately in Albania. It's just that they have been postponed due to the earthquake and then the pandemic.
Sure, that's the situation. That's the case for maybe all the country. Okay, thank you very much, Chiara. Now we will move, possibly to Fabio Renzi, which we will sure will have plenty of data for Italy. So we go from the other excess of the situation. So Fabio Renzi, can you hear me? Is there any problem? I see you. Ok, so
adesso ti sento bene, ma prima era saltato un po', non ti avevo sentito
okay.
nella parte iniziale, scusa.
Ok, I just told that you will, we are sure that you can't hear me?
Adesso sì, però salta ogni tanto. Bene.
Ok, let's try. So let's try, I leave you the floor and let's try everything will work. Please.
Bene, buongiorno. Voi mi sentite? Mi sentite bene?
Yes.
Bene, ringrazio per l'invito a questo appuntamento e penso che possa essere utile l'esperienza che in questi 11 anni abbiamo fatto, pubblicando appunto 11 rapporti chiamati Io sono cultura. E visto che ci troviamo in una sede che è ospitati da una iniziativa che vede le Camere di Commercio protagoniste, vorrei sottolineare appunto che questo rapporto che la nostra fondazione fa ogni anno è fatto insieme a Union Camere, bene? Ed è un rapporto quindi annuale di economia reale, perché è basato sui dati del registro delle imprese, quindi a indicatori, a impostazioni, a strategie di ricerca, poi a queste corrisponde un lavoro sui dati del registro delle imprese, naturalmente integrati e valutati anche con i dati della statistica nazionale. Questo rapporto è un rapporto che ha riprende e riattualizza, se volete, questa fu la scelta che facemmo 11 anni fa, una tradizione di studi in Italia su questi temi che voi conoscete molto bene, Seri e Crociata, cioè inaugurata da Walter Sant'Agata con il libro bianco sulla creatività in Italia del 2009 e poi con il governo della cultura, purtroppo libro uscito postumo perché Sant'Agata è scomparso nel 2013, il governo della cultura. E noi rispetto a questa tradizione, a questa impostazione, abbiamo scelto un perimetro anche più ristretto. Lo dico perché quando sono usciti i primi numeri di Io sono cultura, le prime edizioni, la critica che si faceva al nostro studio era una critica molto arretrata, che le vostre riflessioni, l'impostazione dell'Unione Europea dimostrano, che stavamo allargando troppo il campo della cultura, che era una eccessiva estensione. Allora che cosa fa questo nostro rapporto? Restituisce annualmente il peso e il ruolo della cultura e della creatività nell'economia nazionale, rende disponibili dati su valore aggiunto, occupazione e imprese del sistema produttivo, culturale e creativo. Su questa categoria dopo ritornerò. Analizza le principali caratteristiche dell'occupazione culturale e creativa, fornisce un quadro statistico del ruolo della cultura dei territori e raccoglie approfondimenti settoriali. Nell'ultimo numero del rapporto 23 storie, case history, oltre 200, ed evidenzia la capacità moltiplicativa del sistema produttivo, culturale e creativo sul resto dell'economia. Che cosa intendiamo per sistema produttivo e culturale? Sistema produttivo, culturale e creativo. Questo è molto importante perché questo è il campo e il perimetro della ricerca. Cioè ci sono 7 macro domini che appartengono al core, al nucleo delle attività culturali più riconoscibili, e cioè architettura e design, comunicazione, audiovisivo e musica, videogiochi e software, editoria e stampa, performing arts e arti visive, patrimonio storico e artistico, e ci sono anche tutti quei attività che noi chiamiamo attrazione creativa, creative driven, quindi il sistema produttivo, culturale e creativo è fatto di una parte core di questi 7 macro settori che vi ho detto e di tutta un'altra serie di attività che utilizzano, che pur diciamo che non producono beni e servizi strettamente culturali, ma che utilizzano la cultura come input per accrescere il valore simbolico dei prodotti, quindi la loro competitività. Facciamo un esempio? Il settore del legno arredo, dell'arredamento. È un settore che incorpora industrie come il design, come l'architettura o servizi come quelli di altri settori manifatturieri e dello stesso agroalimentare. Molte operazioni di commercializzazione e di promozione di prodotti agroalimentari, settore molto importante in Italia, ma io penso nell'area Adriatico-Ionica di cui stiamo parlando, sfruttano oggi hanno avuto un processo di culturalizzazione. Non si possono pensare senza utilizzare piattaforme culturali, appunto di trasmissione di valori culturali di prodotti agroalimentari. È un processo di culturalizzazione dell'economia che è evidente. E vediamo, tra l'altro, noi in questi studi che facciamo, che dove il legame tra cultura, manifattura, produzione agroalimentare e altre produzioni non strettamente diciamo culturali, non direttamente culturali, crea più ricchezza, e quindi per esempio tutti i distretti italiani, distretti produttivi italiani sono, vediamo sempre di più, che incorporano attività creative. Questo cerchiamo di farlo, di vederlo anche attraverso appunto i dati delle imprese che ci dicono quanti designer chiamano, quali tipi di competenze incorporano, eccetera, eccetera, e vediamo sempre la crescita sempre di più di professioni e competenze di carattere culturale in mondi produttivi che non si ritenevano culturali. Bene, per dare qualche dato, dire quanto è consistente questa cosa, nonostante il difficile anno trascorso, quello della pandemia, perché naturalmente i dati del 2021 ci restituiscono la vicenda del 2020, cioè l'anno horribilis della pandemia. La filiera culturale e creativa si è confermata comunque centrale all'interno delle specializzazioni produttive nazionali, grazie a 84,6 miliardi di euro di valore aggiunto prodotti e poco meno di 1,5 milioni di persone occupate, 624.000 nelle attività creative driven e 821.000 nelle attività della cultura. Valori che incidono per il 5,7 e il 5,9% di quanto complessivamente espresso dall'intera economia italiana. E con una capacità moltiplicativa, questo è molto importante, pari a 1,8, cioè per ogni euro prodotto, se ne generano per ogni euro prodotto nel settore culturale, se ne generano 1,8 nel resto dell'economia. Si sale a 2 euro per il patrimonio storico e artistico e a 2,2 per le industrie creative. Quindi complessivamente il sistema produttivo culturale e creativo evidenzia un moltiplicatore per il 2020 pari a 1,8 miliardi, a 1,8 scusate, euro. L'intera filiera culturale costituita ha quindi un valore aggiunto di 239,8 miliardi di euro. Ecco, sono dati significativi. Se poi andiamo a vedere, e qui chiudo, come i dettagli del settore core, e qui vediamo che la cosa è così distribuita. Di questo sistema produttivo, di questo valore sistema produttivo culturale, il 55% è rappresentato dalle attività core cultura e il 45% dal creative driven. E qui portiamo dei dati che sono, è chiaro che la parte del leone la fa i videogiochi e software, poi viene l'architettura e design, l'editoria il 21%, l'audiovisivo e musica 11%, ma il dato che sorprende, e questo sta a significare quanto è importante incrociare e rendere più contemporanei i patrimoni che abbiamo. Qui si è parlato prima del patrimonio UNESCO, si è parlato del grande patrimonio storico, culturale, naturalistico di quest'area adriatico-ionica. Ebbene, pensate, nella distribuzione del valore aggiunto, un paese come l'Italia, che è ricchissimo di beni culturali, il patrimonio artistico è solo il 5% di questo valore aggiunto, che significa quanto noi non siamo quella sfida. Le industrie culturali e creative che cosa sono? Sono l'immissione di valori contemporanei all'interno di patrimoni che altrimenti rischiano di essere, di implodere su se stessi, di non incrociare le opinioni, le sensibilità, i valori contemporanei, tutti i temi che qui sono stati discussi del New Bauhaus, dell'inclusività, del fatto che le attività, come dire, la cultura è importante non solo per il valore in sé che ha, ma anche per tutta una serie di servizi anche immateriali alla salute, all'ambiente, eccetera. Quindi questo sta a dimostrare come la sfida di quest'area, io penso, sia quella, al di là delle tassonomie sulle quali poi possiamo ritornare, è quella di capire come immettere contemporaneità e quindi sostanzialmente come incrociare il patrimonio artistico e videogiochi e software o audiovisivo e musica, ecco, come incrociarla, come immettere contemporaneità nei patrimoni storico-culturali e non solo, e quindi e facendo un po' quello che hanno fatto, imitando quello che ha fatto il Made in Italy, la manifattura e l'agroalimentare italiano, incorporando la cultura e quindi le professioni delle attività delle industrie culturali e creative nei loro processi produttivi.
Thank you, Fabio. You went out of time, but you are forgiven, so I leave. I don't do any comments. I have a lot of questions, but I will leave all the questions for the end if we have time. And now we have a problem. Well, kind of problem, because the next speaker, Ioannis Polius, have a hoarseness. He lost his voice. So hi, Ioannis. And so I propose to read and summarize the comment that he sent us, and if Ioannis has comment, he can write to the chat, and so we can proceed like that. Well, first of all, it's okay. Okay, so I go on, Ioannis. So the first things that they say, that Ioannis write us, is that about the global crisis, the global economic crisis in 2008, the pandemic, but however, all the data that he has written are about an historical trend, so they don't concern actually the crisis, but they are consolidated trend that they have just been emphasized and stressed by the crisis. Johannes, raise your hand if I say something that is not true, okay? So the key issue, the most important issue that he tried to emphasize is that there is in Greece a huge emphasis on the classical heritage sites and museums at the expenses of other creative and cultural industries. So both these conduce both theoretic and practical to a separation between heritage and museum and activity and the other cultural contemporary forms and activities. This brings about, I try really to summarize, so I skip on the reason because we went to this emphasis and to this duality. They are mainly political reason, historical reason, and of course the reason that Greece is so important. Heritage, the territorial and cultural heritage of Greece is so important that it's quite easily understandable why the focus was on that. So the situation of contemporary cultural and creative industry in Greece is that there are all these sector which it seems to me, I understand that they are secondary also from a political way. So theater, music, film, video games, they don't are really attentioned by the government, and they're left behind. Then something on some more specific issues. The high rate of unemployment in Greece, or let's say limited employment in the form of freelance, project-based employment, and this is a situation which is common to all the country in this sector. Also, the report also difficult to map this activity. Exactly because of this informal form of employment, and the clusterization, the aggregation of this activity mainly in the capital of Greece, so mainly in Athens, and not in other local areas. This happened. The spatial issue is a well-known issue also in the literature, because cultural activity happen mainly in large urban area, and this is also the case for Greece. Then there is a lacking long-term strategic vision. Well, this is very important because also everybody of us had the experience in their consultant activity to speak with politicians, and actually they speak about money, but they don't know exactly the goal, the long-term objective, the long-term goal. They don't know which is the goal. So this actually very important thing to have a long-term strategic vision, and apparently there is not such a vision in Greece. So suggestion about the suggestion. One is to link contemporary cultural form with heritage site, museum, and tourism. And this could be done in a number of ways. For the development of local cultural forms such as jewelry, pottery, shirts, and publication, they can be linked to the heritage location and activities and project. And this could also lead to develop area outside of Athens. And this should be done by the Ministry of Culture, he said, and especially through the Hellenic Organization of Cultural Resources and Development. I have also a list of questions, but I propose that if you agree, Ioannis, to leave them to the conclusion, to the concluding remark, where we will try to summarize and to try to homogenize also all the results that we had from this session. Okay, thank you. Thank you, and sorry for if I'm not, I have left something. So, well, so we can go on, and I introduce Miss Dragana Radevic, which is the director of the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Economic Development of Montenegro. And please, Dragana, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful for the privilege to be with you today to share lessons learned and also to learn from our colleagues in the region about how they deal with policies and measurements of the CCIs. In Montenegro, the cultural and creative industries are in a nascent phase, but they are recognized as a potential aimed at generating income and profits and creating jobs, which contributes to sustainable development at local and national level. The assessment of the economic effects of the CCIs in Montenegro has led to the conclusions that CCIs in our country are below their potential and are lagging behind in comparison with other countries. The results of the research showed that CCI's contribution in 2018 is reflected in the following parameters. CCIs contribute 1.5% to the gross value added in our country. 3.5% of registered business entities is registered in the sectors which are considered CCIs. 4.4% of employees are engaged in CCIs in Montenegro. 3.2% of all employees in the business entities are linked with the CCIs. In terms of the revenues of the business entities, 1.4% are created or generated in CCIs. Only 1.7% of total export of services comes from CCIs. And finally, if we analyze the total household expenditure on culture and related activities, only 2.3% of their income goes to this sector. The greatest contribution in terms of revenues comes from advertising and marketing communications, almost 20%, followed by electronic media, computer programs and gamings, and publishing. When it's about jobs created, the greatest contribution comes from electronic media, almost 22%, music, visual and performing arts, almost 15%, and museums and libraries, mainly owned by government, public institutions, and finally publishing. This data come from the project titled Cultural and Creative Industries as Sustainable Economic Sector in Montenegro, that was implemented by Institute for Entrepreneurship and Economic Development, thanks to the support from UNESCO International Fund for Cultural Diversity. During this process, in calculating the contribution of CCIs, we did face measurement problems and missing data. But first of all, we have had to introduce a proper definition of the CCIs. So measurement is one problem, but even definition could be a problem, as it was the case in our country. In order to define the CCIs, we started from two major definitions, the UNESCO definition of the CCIs, and also we found very useful the definition given by Department of Culture, Media and Support of the United Kingdom. Based on the analysis of international experience and in CCIs mapping and consultations, we identified in total 11 sectors and 40 activities based on Classification of Activities 2010. So this was the first time that in Montenegro we have actually defined CCIs, identified which sectors and which occupations belong to CCIs. The mapping process and assessment of contributions have identified these weaknesses and also weaknesses regarding monitoring of statistics by institutions. And it's important to work on removing these weaknesses for the purposes of future monitoring and more accurate assessment. Also, it's very important to keep in mind that CCIs are most susceptible to change, influenced by the development of new technologies, changing their forms, and it's very difficult to classify because they are intertwined with other sectors. Therefore, in addition to standardized classifications, let's say, it's very important to conduct occasionally specialized, methodologically well-designed research on the sample, where the extrapolation of the results obtained could characterize the sectors individually, but also the CCIs as a whole. One of the questions that we were given as a panelist was related to the priorities chosen at the level of policy programs. And I can say that earlier, before Corona crisis, let's call it like that, the period, in Montenegro, the priority policy measures were oriented towards the two major thematic areas. The first one was product design and development in the fields of architecture, industrial design, fashion design, textile design, graphic design, and preservation of old crafts. The second one was design and development of video games and creating creative solutions, with the goal to establish a Montenegrin cultural product in the form of a video game with strong export potential. To support these policy measures, Ministry of Culture at that time designed calls for proposals and provided grants to those entrepreneurs and artists who would qualify for the calls. Unfortunately, these were, I would rather say, ad hoc interventions without substantial support. So only in starting initial support for these entrepreneurs, which is not enough to create a sustainable business, if I can say like that. Then regarding the matching between the, let's say, mapping results on one side and selected policy priorities, I'm afraid that one cannot say that there is a mismatch, neither that there is a full match. And the reason for this is very simple. In Montenegro, everything is at an extremely low level when it comes to the CCI development. So basically each sector deserves the support. And you can't say, you don't have enough data to say, okay, this sector stands out, it's important, there is a potential there, let's work on that sector. Also in 2020, we had parliamentary elections, which substantially influenced the policies in the area of culture. Ministry of Culture, which was independent ministry, merged with 3 other sectors. And one of them was education, meaning that culture was not that much anymore in the focus of the policymakers. The best confirmation or evidence for this is the fact that we don't have a program for culture development for last 2 years. So the previous strategic document expired in 2020, and I read that the new government program planned for this year also includes developing or preparing the development program for culture for the next 4 years. I believe that these priorities previously presented were chosen keeping in mind the need to strengthen the cultural identity of Montenegro, but also the potential for success in the market, especially in exports. Finally, regarding some activities that were stopped with political changes, this makes a huge impact. And for the last 2 years, even people that might have some potential most probably gave up from developing these products and are waiting for some new opportunity for them. So as mentioned, for last 2 years, we don't have a strategic program on the state level, and there are not very favorable conditions for these entrepreneurs to develop, to obtain funding, to reach external markets, or at least use the tourism sector, because Montenegro is very much oriented towards the tourism, to sell their own products. So in the final conclusion, yes, in the final conclusion, I would say 2 main things. The first one, in order to develop and manage something, in this case CCIs, we have to be able to measure it. Otherwise, how we can be sure that the measures that we implement give results. And meanwhile, while we are defining our internal political or policy programs, it's very important for Montenegro to be part of regional and European initiatives like this one or any other, like Creative Europe, so that we can keep the track and follow these regional initiatives, exchange the information by the time that our policymakers focus on culture and creative industries and support it properly. Thank you. That's all for now. If there are any questions, I'm available.
Thank you very much, Dragana, for your presentation that went really to the point. So we learned a lot about Montenegro. Thank you very much. So we are really out of time. So I ask the next 3 speakers to be really, to squeeze their presentation as much as possible. And I left the floor to Kristina Mikic, which is the head of Research and Development Institute for Creative Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Serbia. Please, Kristina.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for invitation to join this discussion about creative industry in Serbia. So I will follow Dragana presentation, and maybe a lot of things will be overlapping with his presentation. And first, I will start with the concept of CCI in Serbia, because when we discuss about indicators, the first main step is what we define by different countries under the concept of culture and creative industry. And in our country, approach is very close with the definition from UNESCO Convention on the Protection and Promotion of Cultural Diversity. and academic and professional communities usually understand creative and cultural industry as activities based on creative work, which was derived from the diverse cultural expression. And when we discuss about developmental dimension of this sector, a lot of people expect it should ensure beyond economic sustainability, also sustainability of cultural resources, identities, and value. And here I would like just to mention that industries as a term is not well accepted in Serbia. Reason for that is historically, and there are people doesn't accept industrialization of cultural experience, of cultural activities as some usual, let's say, trends. And this kind of negative reaction still exists in Serbia when you discuss about creative industry. Concerning the indicators of development of ecosystem in cultural and creative industry, before I presented some data from Serbia, I would like just to mention that there is the two approach in classification, creative industry, and the collecting data. The first one is the industrial-oriented classification that was based on the standard industrial classification. And the other one is the employment-oriented classification of creative industry that use standard professional classification and labor force CCI in classifying creative industry and collecting data. In many countries, which is the part of former Yugoslavia, we don't have well-developed both classification. So our research and our data is mostly based on industrial-oriented classification. And for example, in the last, I think, 6 or 7 years, we start to collect employment-oriented classification and accepted this standard professional classification like officially statistical tool for collecting data on professional orientation and employment data. So in my presentation, I use UNESCO classification of cultural and creative industry, which was developed by the UNESCO Institute for Statistics. And this data is mostly based on business register data. And in some time, this is also a combination from the labor force survey. But in this case, when you combine the data from the different sources, you cannot prepare or collect long-term data, which is necessary for some serious research on creative industry. Shortly, in creative industry, there is 25,000 business firms which operate in CCI, out of which 30% is enterprises, such as company with limited liability, and other is the creative enterprise. There is a large number of micro-organizations which with less than 3 employees. When we look at the, let's say, the value-added circle, there is the high level of sector fragmentation in CCI compared to the national economy. CCI contributes to the total gross value added about 3.9%. Contribution of CCI to the total GDP is 3.7%. There are 68,000 employees in creative sector. Majority of them work in the IT and audiovisual industry, and contribution of CCI to total employment is 3.35%. And all of this data is based on administrative resources. What is very strong, let's say, asset of our creative industry is the cultural capital, which is strong cultural capital, which is accumulated within this industry. and a lot of people who are high skilled and high educated. For example, creative industry compared to the other industry in Serbia have less than 1% of unqualified and low skill workforce, which means that creative industry offer, let's say, the high quality jobs for the educated people. From the other side, this data doesn't offer, let's say, insight in the structural changes in creative industry. And if we look at the structural, let's say, structure in creative industry, there's two business models which exist. One, representing companies that are outsourced by the large foreign companies, and the other where work is based on authentic outer expression. Also, this first group of company achieves high rate of growth and employment, but from the policy, cultural policy view, they doesn't create product or services protected by intellectual property rights, nor does industry have symbolic, cultural, and artistic value. This company provides services to the global creative industry company, and most of them are in the film industry, advertising, IT industry, and animation. The second group of...
Christina, you have 1 minute.
Okay, CCI is much more important for Serbian creative identity, but from the economic side, it is this part of sector is made up of small creative company, creative entrepreneur, and association that create original or artistic context. So I will finish here. If you have some additional question, I will answer.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Thank you for staying in the time. So now is the time of Miss Anja Zorko, who is the head of the Center for Creativity of Slovenia. So Anja, the floor is yours. Please stay in 10 minutes, if you can, even 8 or 9. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Just maybe to start with an overview of culture and creative sectors here in Slovenia, which we can track back its development even before 2010 with different research EU projects, regional mapping, and even creative centers developed either bottom up or on a municipality level of Ljubljana, like Project Center Rock, which you will hear shortly. In a few minutes. However, the government of Slovenia started to include cultural and creative sectors or industries in the policies somehow in 2014, 17 with the development of smart specialization and the support measures to develop the cooperation between creative industries and companies with the Cohesion Project Center for Creativity and other two major platforms, network research centers dealing with intersection of art, science, and technology, for which there in 2017, 2018, more than 20 million euros was designated through the cohesion period, which is ending now in 2022 to 2023. So the Center for Creativity is the first national platform for presentation and development of cultural and creative sector in Slovenia, connecting those sectors with business and other economy in general. The second part of the program was focused on the development of creative industries through the grants bestowed by the Ministry of Culture, Republic of Slovenia, for the development of small creative businesses, projects and ideas, and to the grants that are connecting traditional companies and creative sector, ranging from 15,000 to 40,000 euros per grant, of course. And the second part of the project was focused on the support measures that support those financial measures, aiming at developing the education and entrepreneurial skill in the sector, internationalization, networking, promotion, digitalization, development of new products and services, and CCS network development. So due to the lack of research done in cultural and creative industries in Slovenia, we in the Center of Creativity started to develop the first mapping and research and policy recommendations on the field of cultural and creative sectors. So in 2020, we actually launched and presented the data of the first statistical analysis of our sector, which included more than 35,000 individuals working in creative professionals and more than 24,000 registered units in the CCS. So quite an extensive analysis and policy, which presented us with the data that in Slovenia, 4.7% of all employees are employed in the creative professions. So when we went to measure even the large scale creative economy, we included more than 51,000 individuals employed in Slovenia that were employed in creative economy, which measured for 7% of all employees employed in creative economy in Slovenia. So the data were very new to Slovenia. It actually corresponded with the data in European Union level, and it showed that also that the creative industries are presenting 3.5 of total gross value added in Slovenian companies, which amounted even higher actually than the average of the economy here in Slovenia. The data from 2017 showed that entire cultural and creative industries in Slovenia generated for almost 3 million sales revenue, which also showed that this is 2.7% of the revenues generated in the entire Slovenian economy. Which was actually comparable to the revenue generated in the electrical appliances and industry at that year, and more revenue than chemical industry actually. Also in the sense of growth, the data were comparable to European Union data, and the growth was biggest on the field of software, games industry, books and publishing, and also advertising industry. Our research also showed that CCS in Slovenia are comprised of really small size companies, because 97% of all companies from cultural and creative sector employed up to nine employees, while 80% of the companies employed only one person. So and of course, we were also surprised by the fact that the share of sole proprietors, small companies, was more than 56%, which was again higher than in the rest of the economy here in Slovenia, and but also showed that significant share of self-employed in culture was the part of this numbers which we have. When we were doing the research, of course, we tackled the problem of definition of the cultural creative sector in comparison to European Union, and we decided to somehow engage in 3 databases: Statistic Office of the Republic of Slovenia database, Register of Employment and Statistical Business Register of Slovenia. So our research was combined basis on 3 data or 3 analysis of occupation, analysis of annual accounts of the companies, statistical register of employees. So all those data gathered and somehow showed us the number, what is happening here in a creative sector in Slovenia, in order to continue the research more in depth in special subsectors like architecture, design, museums, and so on. So actually, although creative industries or creative sector in Slovenia are tackled through cohesion projects, they are not yet, hopefully they will become, but they are not yet integral part of other strategic documents of Ministry of Culture. So we hope that with the research done and also with the comparison of what European Union and other countries are doing, this will slowly change. Yeah, we will continue our research, and this year we are actually presenting what has been done in the field of general research in creative sector in Slovenia and focusing on comparison to European Union. So we would be glad to stay in touch and exchange our data. So very shortly about Slovenia's situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anya. Thank you very much for your presentation and for staying in the time. And now the last presentation by Violeta Simijanovska, which is a professor and lecturer at the Cultural Management Specialist. And she will represent North Macedonia.
Thank you. I need to make a kind of clarification. I'm representing also UNIARTS from Helsinki because I'm working at the moment in Sibelius Academy as a head of arts management department. But at the same time, I'm engaged by the EU delegation in Skopje and cultural relation platform on the study on impact of COVID-19 on the CCI. So I'm pretty much familiar with the data and all challenges. I can share the fresh challenges I'm facing in data collection and data analysis. Very familiar things I heard from Montenegro, Serbia, and also Slovenia. I think Macedonia is not out of this context. And I will briefly now, I don't know if you can see my presentation, but I will go briefly through the context, a little bit of background, just to know Macedonia, now North Macedonia, it's 2,083,380 inhabitants in 2021. The total trade to GDP ratio is 129%. Gross national expenditure in millions in 12.2 in 2020. It's an EU country, candidate country since 2005. It's quite a long period. And it became member of NATO in 2020. About cultural and creative industries, the Ministry of Culture, it's the public body in charge for the sector, and it's organizing. Actually, it's responsible for the distribution of funds and also the legislative framework, etc. So it's the body who is dealing with the culture policy context, where CCI are part of it. And one of the first challenges that I faced during this search, I'm part of it at the moment, it's the differences in understanding of CCIs, the definition. As many others mentioned this morning, UNESCO definition is declaratively accepted, but in the reality, it's a little bit different picture. And in general, when you're going through the strategic papers and documents, culture policy papers, you can see that the government declaratively recognized the potential of CCI, but very little is done in supporting, in creating instruments that supports this sector. So, for example, just figuratively but realistically, from 2013 to 2017, the government of Macedonia, through Ministry of Culture, they supported the CCI sector with 450,000 euros only. So can you imagine what kind of support and what kind of relation the government has toward this sector? And the last strategy that exists from 2018 to 22 and strategic plan from 20 to 24, there is no clear goal and no clear action plan for CCI. And I hope that this actually study that I'm engaged in, which is initiated by EU delegation, will enforce this this kind of direction within the Ministry of Culture, and maybe they will focus more on the potential of CCI and they will do something. But now I will like to share the challenges and the facts, some facts that I have before this study, because just to mention that the results from this study will come out in May or June this year. So we can share probably this with all of you if you are interested in. So the first challenge we faced, and I think all people in Macedonia are facing, North Macedonia are facing, it's the classification of CCI, which is related to the definition. So there is difference between Macedonian statistic system and European system. And if you check in both systems, you will find completely different figures. But the tendencies are similar. So we cannot speak in absolute numbers, but we can speak about the tendencies only, which is very difficult to accept, I assume, for policymakers. It's really difficult to speak in tendencies only and not in absolute numbers. But that is the factual situation at the moment. And as I said, the number of entities in one of the systems that exist, it's 1,630, which is not the real number, actually, because a lot of entities are not counted in this systematization and classification. And the cultural employment is 3.3% of the total employment. And also this, it's not absolute number, but it's approximate because cultural and creative industries are interfering with other related fields. So we could not find the precise number of employment in CCI. Then the participation of selected CCI sector in GDP 2019. You can see now from the data I'm sharing here, we cannot say we cannot have the overall contribution to GDP, but by sectors, and even those sectors are not directly linked only to CCI, but also other related sectors. So it's really very complex situation to collect data and also to analyze. So I can give you here, for example, information and communication, it's 3.5% from the GDP, but in this are involved also production of computer, for example, equipment, which is not part of the CCI. So these kind of problems exist. All professional, scientific and technical activities, much more than the definition of UNESCO CCI. And then you have art, fun and recreation, which is also very broad and not specifically given in the system. And added value at factor cost in million euro, it's 993.47. And again, challenges in data collection, I would really stress this because I think it's a common, I heard from other countries that they are facing similar things. So differences in understanding, definition, first of all, and then difference in classification of the CCI. And there is differences between Eurostat and our national statistic bureaus. So, and then lack of data collected and analyzed on CCI before. For example, in Macedonia, the first mapping was done in 2009 without any quantification, only qualitative description of what kind of fields exist and what kind of fields, but no quantification of the sector. So it's really difficult to rely on the reference points in data. So probably this will be the first study with figures that we are going to present now in May and June. So lack of data collection and analysis, and also it's a chaos in our Ministry of Culture. There is no systematization of information. Even in the if you want to analyze the budget, the simple budget, annual budget, it's so complicated. And to get those information, it's really kind of, so transparency, and it's an issue still, which is connected to
Violetta, if you can conclude in 1 minute,
yes,
please.
But the things in Macedonia, in North Macedonia, are not that black. There is a lot of opportunities, particularly after COVID-19. So new models of operation, new business models, digitalization brought a lot of things. For example, gaming industry is growing rapidly. And so also new kind of relation with audience. And also Skopje is preparing culture application for culture capital in 2018, and this can be a generator. So this is in brief the situation in Macedonia, sorry, North Macedonia.
Thank you very much, Violeta. It's really a big pity that we have to hurry up so much because there are a lot of comment and questions, but as planned, we will left the concluding remark to Alessandro Crociato at the end of the conference, and then if I have time also I will do some comment at the end. So let me close this session saying thank you to all of you for your really valuable and great information, and I leave the floor to the last round table and to Miss Ivana. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Paolo, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to lead this panel because my main actually art form is local communities and work with local communities. So let's start. I had information from Melanie that we have to be short, so please all participants not to break this 5 minutes time scale. So Melanie, can I have my presentation? I will shortly present our work with community. It's mainly photography, yeah, sure. So yeah.
I'm going to share the screen, or you prefer to share? Okay, I'm going to share.
Okay. I was 8 years the president of the cluster of creative and cultural industries. So we did this mapping, and I know what all of us are going through from this region. So now we are doing this art projects because I'm mainly and basically artist.
I think you can go with your presentation, Ivana.
Yeah, but can I change the? I cannot scroll it.
I'm scrolling it down for you. It's okay.
Okay. Can you put it on the beginning?
Sure.
So for last 5 years, we are doing the project named Project Ilica, QArt. It's a community art project, and as is a community art project, we have this main sentence: we citizens are the city, because mainly we started with dealing with these empty spaces, because all main cities are struggling with the same problem. It's actually dying of those historical city centers, and we did it all through artist activities, and our main goal is to make this experience of urban experience through the activities of artists, association, universities, trade, citizens, and communities. So we are based, all our project and the whole project and all under projects are based on a sustainable future and the sustainable activities. So we are focused on architecture, audiovisual arts, music, performative art, literature, visual arts, applied arts and crafts. This is our field of action. In our part of the city, there are 3 academies and architectural university and a school of applied arts and design study and so on. Our primary target groups are artists and actually residents of this part of Zagreb, Ilica. We can go further. All our projects are based on the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's how we are built this project. Our partners are Ministry of Culture, City of Zagreb, Zagreb Tourist Board, Ministry of Physical Planning and Construction and State Assets, Zagreb Holding, Academy of Fine Arts, Faculty of Textiles and Technology, Croatian Association of Visual Arts, and so on. We have a lot of partners. I will go shortly through the photographies. That's how we started. Actually, we entered a lot of those empty spaces which are in horrible state, and we for a very small amount of money we develop it and we arrange it and we make galleries and radio stations were in some spaces, and we had bookshops and so on. You can go further. It's just the pictures. So 2018, we actually spread around this part of Zagreb. We entered one abandoned church and abandoned square yards and so on. We actually spread around all this part of Zagreb. You can go on. So those are pictures. We had all kinds of artistic activities in our part. We had also all those spaces which are empty. We stick it as a gallery, Ilica, as we are calling it. We stick all kinds of sentences and as we are calling it, like how does it go? We actually are trying to, as an artist, me and my colleague, we are trying to wake the community up and to see what they want. And we as a from the start we actually did the various activities, and every festival edition is while culture and artistic programs would give life to empty and abandoned spaces. And this is our first fashion show. It's actually upcycling fashion show, recycling. We took old wardrobe, and we make a fashion show with textile and technology faculty. So those are all our activities. From 2019, we get this opportunity to close the traffic and to make a festival on the street. So we spread, actually it was very strong and very bold, because it was the year of earthquake, and this is our gallery. We made this gallery Ilica. We put the red crosses on the buildings which are ruined from earthquake. This is our communication. It's mainly based on guerrilla marketing. It's not like classical marketing. And after 5 years, we have great results. We actually could not make good cooperation with our former mayor, because he wasn't interested in developing these empty spaces as art spaces. So our community actually developed organically, and with our help, a lot of new crafts and new designers and new people entered those empty spaces. We built community of 680 around artists and crafts designers, which are working with us on this festival. And actually we are working as an incubator, as art incubator, but living art incubator. And we developed 3 new projects inside this project. And we are growing, of course. So that's about me and about projects we are developing. We can now go to our speakers. I'm very proud to have these speakers, because it's I'm very interested to see how they were building their project. Mr. Giovanni Seneca, artistic director of the Adriatico-Mediterraneo Festival from Italy. He has some photographies, as I heard.
Buongiorno.
Good morning.
Devo parlare io?
Yes, sure.
Yes, we are waiting for
allora
you.
sì, io approfitto, no, non riuscivo a capire se era il mio momento. Allora, buongiorno a tutti, io approfitto del fatto che ci siano dei traduttori, posso parlare in italiano, se no se volete parlo inglese, ma non assicuro il risultato.
Può parlare in italiano tranquillamente.
Perfetto.
La traduzione, grazie.
Allora, sì, io sono un musicista e dirigo dall'inizio il Festival Adriatico-Mediterraneo. Voglio un po' spiegare brevemente cos'è questa esperienza di questo festival. Questo festival nasce da un'idea del 2006 in cui la Regione Marche ci chiese di fare degli interventi a Sarajevo, degli interventi chiaramente artistici, perché stava costruendo un presidio ospedaliero. Siccome noi organizzavamo, dico noi perché sono io in realtà il presidente di un'associazione, ma siamo chiaramente un gruppo di lavoro, avevamo già organizzato nel corso degli anni una serie di attività sul territorio, in particolare legate alla musica ebraica, perché ad Ancona c'è una comunità ebraica molto importante. Però da lì ci venne proprio l'idea di iniziare un percorso di cooperazione culturale internazionale legato soprattutto all'area dei Balcani. Quindi nacque questa idea di organizzare una serie di attività sia ad Ancona ma anche in altri paesi legati a questo tema. Chiaramente la scelta di Ancona è stata una scelta strategica perché, come tutti voi sapete, ha una posizione diciamo in mezzo all'Adriatico, è stato storicamente un porto fondamentale per gli scambi, per le collaborazioni, e tutta la regione Marche è proprio un territorio che protende verso il mare, aperto agli scambi e alle diciamo, collaborazioni di vario tipo. Tutta l'area adriatica ha vissuto in epoche anche a partire dall'epoca della Repubblica di Venezia, ma anche precedentemente, un'identità. Quindi l'obiettivo era quello, trovare un'identità adriatico e mediterranea partendo da Ancona. E cos'è successo quindi? Che in questi 16 anni, nel 2007 è stata fatta la prima edizione ed è continuata tutti gli anni, ad Ancona, a fine agosto, in questi bellissimi spazi che voi vedete, quindi la mole vanvitelliana costruita dal Vanvitelli, che era un lazzaretto, il porto, l'arco di Traiano, il passetto, in questa splendida città millenaria, organizziamo questo festival, che è un festival che ha chiaramente nella musica la sua matrice principale, perché essendo anche un linguaggio universale si presta meglio a questo tipo di idea, ma anche molti incontri, molti dibattiti, anche per capire che cosa sta succedendo in quest'area da un punto di vista culturale, ma anche politico in senso lato. Ci avvaliamo della collaborazione del segretariato permanente dell'iniziativa Adriatico-Ionico, che sta proprio qua ad Ancona, della Regione Marche, del Ministero e di tanti altri enti e soggetti, anche perché poi ormai Adriatico-Mediterraneo è diventato un contenitore che accoglie tutte le idee, tutte le iniziative che sono legate al mare, che sono legate agli scambi e che sono legate insomma a queste tematiche. Successivamente abbiamo fatto una serie di attività culturali in relazione e in collaborazione con vari soggetti sparsi per il Mediterraneo. Alcuni attraverso il supporto dei fondi europei, quindi siamo stati capofila di un progetto Europa Creativa in collaborazione con Croazia, Grecia e Serbia. Siamo stati in Turchia, ad Istanbul nel 2011, quando Istanbul è stata capitale della cultura, a Gerusalemme, in tutta l'area del Maghreb, in Egitto, alla Biblioteca Alessandrina, insomma circa una quindicina di paesi di tutto il Mediterraneo, in Albania. In Albania abbiamo collaborato con l'Accademia di Tirana, in Macedonia, in Montenegro, insomma in Croazia, in tanti paesi abbiamo cercato di organizzare delle cose. Come le abbiamo organizzate? Semplicemente mettendoci in relazione con le organizzazioni locali e proponendo un ponte culturale, quindi gestendo, diciamo, l'attività artistica in collaborazione. E successivamente quindi abbiamo poi anche favorito lo scambio, quindi la possibilità degli artisti provenienti da quell'area di venire ad Ancona, e abbiamo portato molti artisti italiani a suonare in quelle zone. Abbiamo a volte anche creato proprio delle sinergie culturali, mettendo insieme più artisti di vari paesi e facendoli lavorare su un progetto musicale, con grande attenzione anche per i giovani. Abbiamo fatto per esempio un progetto europeo in cui un giovane solista proveniente da un'area si misurava poi con una band, con un gruppo musicale locale, dando vita a delle musiche, quindi fondendo le diverse culture in un ambito quasi di laboratorio, possiamo dire, di residenza. Questo è stato in qualche maniera l'obiettivo del Festival Adriatico-Mediterraneo e questo continua ad esserlo. Abbiamo lavorato una volta anche in Albania proprio col Forum delle città dell'Adriatico e dello Ionio, quindi insomma diciamo cerchiamo di stare aggiornati per quello che riguarda l'attività culturale del Mediterraneo, in particolare dell'Adriatico. Non so se sono stato chiaro.
Yeah.
Forse ho parlato troppo rapido per i traduttori, vero?
No. Thank you, Giovanni. You were actually in time, so thank you for that. I will introduce now Renata Zemita, ROG Center from Slovenia, Creative Hub. She has
Hello to everyone.
A presentation.
Hi.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, my name is Renata Zemida. I'm Acting Director General of a new creative hub in Ljubljana, Slovenia. I will share my screen now since I have a short presentation. Yes, here we go, and I will try to stay in time as well. So the RUECC Center is being built from the former bicycle factory. You see the old factory building on the picture above, and the new reconstruction actually below. The bicycle factory is the most important piece of industrial heritage of the 20th century in Ljubljana. And after the renovation, the building will in a way retain its original function. So it will again be a production facility, but updated for the 21st century. So it will become the RUECC Center Creative Hub. What you see here in the picture is almost 9,000 square meters of infrastructure. So it will be mostly used as a production space, a space to meet, a space to exchange in the field of creative industries. So focusing on manufacturing, urban craft, design, architecture. And the RUECC Center will offer creators, organizers, organization, companies, and the general public, let's say, favorable environment for the development of their projects. So I wanted to show you here that we have a long-going participatory development process behind the involvement of the RUECC Center. And in 2018, the RUECC Lab team, RUECC Lab was actually a small pilot project, received the EuroCities Network Innovation Award for the development of the RUECC Center. So we are now here in the implementation phase after a basically 10 years long participatory development process. And since the beginning of this process, we have involved more than 400 experts, more than 80 partner organizations, and more than 6,000 individual users, past or future, who have then refined the vision of the new RUECC Center and also tested it through the RUECC Lab facility, which was, as said, the pilot project. So now we are really scaling up from 28 square meters of the RUECC Lab container. It was basically also the first fab lab in Slovenia, to almost 9,000 square meters of the RUECC Center. So this is what it's going to look like. We'll have 3 floors, and in the ground floor, as you see, we have several labs. And in autumn of last year, in 21, we have also ourselves created detailed plans for these 7 manufacturing labs with, again, the help of different potential users and experts in the fields of the lab, from cookery, textile, 3D, electro, wood, metal, green lab, glass and ceramics. And this public, common public workplaces will be available to access on a basis of a membership card. So they will function as basically, for instance, a library does. And in the first floor, we actually do have also a public library as part of our center, as well as a big multi-purpose hall for exhibitions, for lectures. So as you see, one of the most important objectives for us was to create a hybrid place, an accessible place where in a way popular and high culture meet and are intervened. Very important thing in the second floor are individual workspaces, which we will offer for the use free of charge to individual makers, creators, designers, and also organizations for the development of their projects. So who will be able to get a space here? Mostly we will choose creators who develop socially beneficial projects. This is one of our main values as well. the social responsibility and reliability of the sustainability goals. On the third floor, which is also interesting, we will have as well 5 residential workspaces, so 5 residential premises for international exchange. So we will be able to invite creators or lecturers and so on from foreign countries, and also send our creative force in their respective residencies if they exist. So to conclude, we tried to make this creative hub really bottom up, with exchange with the community. The founder and funder of Center Rok is the city of Ljubljana, so it is a municipality created center, but we really succeeded in this ongoing hands-on participatory process that involved the closest communities that will gain from the center, but also the whole neighborhood. This is the space is placed quite centrally in the city of Ljubljana. So we collaborated with possible partners. We tried to answer to the needs of the community, and we also try to research what the best business models to manage and give it a lifetime possibility as a public space. So I tried to be really fast since we're behind on time. Thank you very much, and I will share in the chat section also a link to our catalog where all this, what I try to explain here shortly, is explained in more detail. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Renata. It's very interesting. I hope that we will in Zagreb also do this kind of things with these old buildings. Now it's time for Genci Koideli. He's the General Director of Strategic Projects and Foreign Investments at the Municipality of Tirana. Genci?
Hi, thank you, Ivana, for the presentation. Thank you guys for having invited me to participate in this very distinguished. I am going to speak briefly about Tirana's engagement as the current European Youth Capital, and how the city will benefit from this in terms of involving our youth into the core activities of the municipality and of the city thereof. We started our efforts to become the European Youth Capital in the year 2019. We try to be as inclusive as possible in order to come up with a program that was youth-driven and created by youth. So the municipality attempted to stay as distant as possible in terms of content creation when it came to presenting a more vibrant and very youthy application bid. I think this was the key to our success. We collaborated very closely with a National Youth Congress, and we managed to pull off in a very brief time an application bid which did focus on some areas that are core necessities of our youth, including creative economy and innovation, culture, development of capacities, youth participation, youth diversity and acceptance, the European identity of the Albanian and Tirana youth, issues of environment and health, as well as the creation of youth spaces across the city. Our application was successful. We have started as of January 2022 with the bidding process for financing projects in Tirana throughout the year. So far, we've had about 1,100 applications for projects, by civil society organizations in Tirana, non-organized groups as well as individuals. We expect about 1,000 activities to go on in the capital city of Albania throughout the year 2022. We welcome everybody, including you guys, in Tirana throughout the year. It's going to be an amazing year for us, pandemic allowing, and also hopefully with this war getting away from us as soon as possible. Other initiatives that the municipality of Tirana has involved into our European Youth Capital of Youth Year includes a very close collaboration with our regional partners, traditional regional partners like Regione Puglia, Regione Friuli Venezia Giulia, Regione Lombardia. So our core partners in Italy, as well as in North Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and Greece. At the end, to close, we also viewing at the need and necessity to emphasize more on the creative capacity of our city. We just created, and it's operational right now, the Agency for Creative Industries of the municipality of Tirana. So I want to be brief and finish. I hope that from this panel and this event, we also generate new ideas for collaboration. So I welcome anyone from you guys to write and get in touch for possible collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kenzi. And I will introduce the last speaker. He's Vittorio Salmoni from Italy, and his focal point of Fabriano UNESCO Creative City and Crafts and Folk Arts and National Coordinator of Italian UNESCO Creative City Network. Vittorio.
Thank you, Ivana. My warmest regards to all the panelists, and thank you for the invite. I prefer to in Italian, quindi continuerò a parlare italiano e condivido lo schermo. Ecco, non so se riuscite a vedere la presentazione.
It's not visible.
Not visible?
No.
Okay, sorry. Now?
Adesso sì, perfetto.
Oh, thank you. Allora, io sono architetto, sono un urbanista e mi occupo di rigenerazione urbana e curo da 10 anni l'attività di Fabriano Città Creativa UNESCO. È stata la seconda città ad entrare nel network che l'UNESCO nel 2004 ha creato per unire le città che si occupano di cultura, creatività e innovazione. Dal 2011, quando Fabriano è entrata nella rete, ad oggi le città italiane sono diventate 13. Quindi è cresciuta enormemente la quantità e la qualità della presenza italiana nel network, che attualmente annovera ben 296 città in tutto il mondo. La caratteristica di questa rete è il fatto di non avere a che fare con aree geografiche delimitate, non so, l'Unione Europea nel nostro caso o l'Unione degli Stati del Sud America, ma dell'intero mondo. Noi abbiamo una rete di cooperazione internazionale fondata sulla cultura, sulla creatività, sugli scambi, sulle policies urbane, che spazia nell'intero mondo. E questa è una condizione incredibile di collaborazione, di capacità e di innovazione che è a disposizione delle politiche cittadine. Ogni anno a luglio si svolge la conference mondiale delle città creative, e l'ultima che si è svolta, di cui vedete le immagini scorrere mentre parlo, si è svolta proprio a Fabriano nel 2019. Nel 2020 e nel 2021 la pandemia, il Covid, hanno bloccato la possibilità di svolgere in presenza queste conference, e quindi soltanto quest'anno, nel 2022, nella città di Santos in Brasile, ci sarà la successiva conference internazionale. E si svolgeranno le cose che voi vedete in queste immagini, cioè una grande kermesse, una grande occasione, un meeting allargato a tutte 296 le città per scambiare i propri punti di vista, le opinioni, i casi, le esperienze delle principali obiettivi legati all'Agenda 2030. Siamo passati dal 2011, quando Fabriano è entrata, ad oggi, da un riferimento molto marcato agli obiettivi numero 8 e numero 11 dell'Agenda dello sviluppo sostenibile, cioè quelli fondati sul lavoro e sul cambiamento fisico delle città, sull'aggregazione sociale all'interno delle città. Siamo passati a una più marcata attenzione ai goal legati alla inclusione sociale, alla uguaglianza di genere, alla educazione e formazione, cioè a tutte quelle a quegli obiettivi che si riferiscono più strettamente ai fattori legati alla persona e alla sua evoluzione e all'innalzamento della qualità della vita culturale, ambientale e sociale all'interno delle città. Questi sono gli obiettivi che la rete si è data per i prossimi anni e che noi seguiremo con estrema attenzione. Ed è chiaro che in questa chiave non possiamo non ricordare, lo abbiamo fatto pochissimi giorni fa, il dramma e l'atrocità che sta vivendo un paese all'interno dell'Europa, l'Ucraina, aggredito brutalmente, e per questo sia l'UNESCO nel suo livello più generale, più alto, sia la rete delle città creative hanno espresso una forte solidarietà e hanno marcato ancora una volta il fatto che la cultura è un elemento di grande coesione e di salvaguardia dei valori dell'umanità e della pace, e quindi attraverso la cultura cercheremo di fare ogni sforzo possibile perché questo conflitto finisca e perché si rientri nel clima di pace e di concordia tra i popoli. In questa chiave mi rivolgo ai tanti relatori che hanno parlato oggi e alle città che si sono affacciate a questo panel molto importante, a questo convegno molto importante, per chiedervi di aderire alla rete delle città creative. È bene che alcune regioni molto caratterizzate, alcuni ambiti geografici molto caratterizzati come il nostro, che fa riferimento all'area mediterranea, ai Balcani, all'est dell'Italia, sia molto presente. In questo momento nella rete, oltre alle città di Fabriano c'è la città di Lubiana per la letteratura, la città di Salonicco per la gastronomia, ma poche altre nell'area che ci riguarda, della macro regione, diciamo così. Sarebbe opportuno che, per esempio, un'esperienza molto molto aperta e molto, come abbiamo potuto ascoltare, come quella di Tirana, possa entrare dentro la rete, perché Tirana è una città di grande innovazione, dove la rigenerazione urbana si sta sperimentando in maniera molto, molto forte. Ma tante altre sono le città, per esempio le città della Serbia o del Montenegro, che ho visitato più volte, della Macedonia, insomma queste città che hanno vissuto in passato dei drammi e sono rinate con grande forza e con grande coraggio e capacità, e hanno oggi tante cose da dire, Sarajevo ed altre. La rete delle città creative offre questa opportunità e offre soprattutto la possibilità di scambiare, di cooperare, di condividere politiche ed esperienze. Io credo che questo sia il messaggio che possiamo lanciare in questa occasione, e speriamo di poter raccogliere l'appoggio delle città che fanno parte del nostro bacino, della nostra area di riferimento, e che possiamo in futuro cooperare in maniera ancora più stretta di quanto stiamo facendo ora. Vi ringrazio.
Thank you, Vittoria. I think that that's all because we break the time. So, yeah, Melanie.
Yeah, I mean, they were wonderful. They were really exhaustive. So we can close this panel. Thank you all, seriously. Thank you, Ivana. I mean, we had some questions. We were so curious, but we are going to close. We have to.
Yeah, I think that they were very good at presentation, so I think that they answered all the questions we had.
Okay, thank you all. We can go to the concluding remarks. So I leave the floor to Paolo Seri. Thank you again.
Thank you, Melanie. So yeah, we are approaching the lunchtime, but I think it's really important now to make the work, the difficult work of abstracting, to generalize all the information, the very rich information. And as planned, I pass this task to Professor Crociata for doing this work of giving us some general summary of what has emerged. And then I will conclude, if you have time, just two concluding remarks by me. So, Alessandro, please, the floor is again yours.
Thank you, Paolo. First of all, I'm grateful for all the panelists and the suggestions they made. I prepare a very brief bullet point with some consideration and messages from the today work. First of all, CCIs, cultural and creative industries, are more susceptible to change as a sector, and the perimeter or the taxonomy of such sector is influenced by, for instance, development of new technologies. So it's very difficult to classify in a static way this perimeter, also because the subsectors are intertwined with other sectors. Moreover, the taxonomies of the CCIs depends strictly on policy imperatives. As for the messages we learn from the panelists in the various speech, what we heard is that the structure of the macro sector is made by numerous very small companies, and is almost confirmed everywhere. But if we look at the pure economic performance of the subsectors, the subsectors that have the best performance are those linked to digital, such as gaming and so on. Another interesting messages that I heard, but that confirm what I've learned during my studies, is that pandemic, such another internal or external shock, change priority in policy setting, shifting funds from CCIs to another sectors. But nation and policymaker should start reason in terms of cultural and creative ecosystems. An ecosystem led by culture or creativity is a system in which CCIs are part of a broad socioeconomic system and that are able to produce spillover or positive externalities in other dimensions. What we now know by recent studies in cultural economics and so on, and not only in cultural economics, is that, for instance, cultural participation is beneficial for improving well-being, for sustainability, for tolerance and inclusiveness, for other several dimensions. So if we reason in terms of cultural and creative ecosystem, we can put CCIs at the center of a policy agenda in which culture and creativity can produce, can be beneficial, can impact with other several dimensions. So this is to say that not only pure economic performance is relevant, and moreover, in a period of difficulties, such the period we are living, only cultural and creative sector seems that could be beneficial to achieve resilience, a sort of resilience. And in that sense, I think that these messages is really and deeply linked to the new season of cohesion policies. That is a season with an unprecedented injection of funds. So what could we do? What could be useful to do by moving from such consideration? Well, I think that to unlock, of course, and to stay on the issue, on the point of this day, is that it's really important to map the CCI sectors not only for a statistical perspective, but to unlock the potential of CCIs in terms of spillover effect or externalities power. That's why I think that CCIs, that is we can say a proxy for culture and creativity in a system, are really driver for changing, or to cope with these difficult times, not only in terms of GDP, jobs, and so on. There are all things important, but I think that each nation should start to set up a sort of national cultural observatory to map the CCI system. But such cultural observatories should be coordinated at European level in order to harmonize data and so to suggest European tailored policy. And of course, such observatories could be also useful within the country boundaries to to boost a sort of capability building for policymakers, because there are several, more than one countries that suffer difficulties in giving the right place to CCIs and to unlock such potential. That's my point. Thanks.
Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you very much. Let me add that well, the necessity to make this observatory that should work really together with the policy imperative. And let me say, for example, in Italy, if we look at the smart specialization as the priority of the smart specialization strategy in the region, well, there are actually no region which put as a priority cultural and creative industry. Maybe just in the Lazio region, there is the cinema sector, but no other region actually is putting as a priority of development one sector of the cultural and creative industry. That can actually change if we let work together the mapping work and the policy making. So just to emphasize about these things, and that the fact that the mapping is a dynamic process that should work together with policy making. And well, let me just then finally tell you again about the opportunity that we have to publish on the review L'Industria. So we will send to you an email to with all the rule, all the time schedule to do that. So who is interested, who can put together a paper which is well framed theoretically, even if it doesn't have any econometric analysis, please do it, and we'll organize this call for paper in the review L'Industria. And apart from that, I would really, of course, appreciate to keep in touch. And I think that this forum should and is already a great occasion for making a network, also for participating to Horizon project and other. I just wrote in the chat a project about film industry, and who is interested, who is already in participating in a network, please keep in touch. And well, I think that we can look forward to the next conference, where we should, I think, set free more time for comment and probably be less in a hurry, because it was a pity not to be able to comment more deeply, because the intervention was really interesting, and the workshop has been really well organized. Just probably we need a bit more time. So, well, I left for the final greetings.
Yes, Paolo.
Silvia or Eleonora? Yeah.
Yeah,
please.
thank you very much, Paolo, and to all the moderators, to the speakers for this very interesting conference of the UNURECC Plus project. So yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have much time. It is always like that. We always tried, to be on time in every panel, but then since there are so many things to exchange and to share with the others, that we don't have, enough time for debate, for discussion. So we will for sure take into account this kind of aspect in the next future initiatives within I-NURECC Plus project and the 3 fora as well, conferences and events. I invite all of you to visit our websites, the 3 fora websites that you can find in the chat. So the other colleagues from FAIC and Adrian will write you the website on the chat, and you will receive all the information about the reports and the video, the recording of this event, because we are going to wrap up everything that we were talking about today and to share with all the participants. So you will receive the email by the forum mic, and you will find all the information on the website. And of course, I invite you to contact us if you want to have any other information about, you know, the conference and the participants of this event, and or anything that you need to know about the 3 fora, the I-NURECC Plus project, and the next initiatives. So thank you very much once again, and see you next time.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And thank you to the interpreters as well.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.